Greetings, YouTube. The other night I was taking a nap before work, and I was snugly under my flannel sheets, my blanket, and two comforters, one of which was handmade by my wife. And she had just placed it on top of me. And I'm lying there, all comfortable, and it suddenly occurred to me, what a wonderful way to generate a false sense of security, which is when I was inspired to invent the assassin blanket. So the assassin blanket is a blanket, a comforter. The one my wife made, I think, is 6 foot by 6 foot. It's not a large comforter; it's a smaller one. It's kind of a lap comforter, but it's good to throw on top of you when you want a little extra warmth. Um, and I'm quite fond of it. I like it. I prefer it to a down comforter because I think the down comforter retains too much heat. Because if I overheat, I can't sleep. Um, and I think there's a number of different ways of handling an assassin blanket. So the goal is to have a blanket that will delay attack until the target is either asleep or just in the process of falling asleep. And then it does a smother um, uh, or choking attack, constriction attack of some variety. Or maybe constriction and smothering. It depends on how you want to do it. There's the assassin's hood, which is a type of like fantastical cephalopod that like dropped off the ceiling and landed on people's heads, that kind of a concept. Um, and then after it's dispatched its victim, it would either return to being an innocuous comforter or slink off into a corner somewhere and hide, maybe shape-shifting into another mundane object um, until such time that it can escape. And some of the limitations I would place upon this is it can only shape change into mundane objects. It cannot turn into a creature. It can only turn into other things. And maybe it has a natural form. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it's always in some variety of um, phased state of being. And this is vaguely reminiscent of kind of what the trapper or the mimic does. And that's one route you can take, a biological version. So it's an actual monster with an intelligence, though low level, which can be trained via some kind of conditioning to accomplish its task. Um, the advantage of this is that it isn't going to radiate magic. The disadvantage is it's going to give off some kind of heat on it of its own, which you might not notice if you want a comforter on top of you. Um, and there may be other telltale signs. It's going to be heavier than a standard comfort, but that could be maybe you just think, oh, isn't that a nice weight on top of me kind of thing. Particularly if it is the top, uppermost container, uppermost layer on you when you're sleeping. Um, Another way of going is possessed object. So if there's an evil spirit of some variety in the object, then it's become dangerous or it's being controlled by someone else. Um, Disadvantage of that is that it could be detected quite possibly through alignment or definitely through magic. Now, the creature that attacks you, if that's got a low enough intelligence, you could rule that it's a neutral alignment, so it really isn't giving off any strong evil vibe. But some people will say that a creature designed to attack others is by default um, evil. I would rule that like trappers and things like that and mimics aren't necessarily evil. They're just trying to survive and they've found an ecologic niche or have been designed to be an ecologic niche um, or niche rather um, that fits a certain bill, looking like a chest or looking like the floor. There's also one that drops from the ceiling. What's that one called? I can't remember. Um, and then the last idea is an animated object. So you've got just a standard, ordinary, everyday object, and that has been animated by the animate object spell. But the direct animate object spell is going to be very limited because really the spellcaster is going to have to be in the room or very close to it. It can only be given the most simple commands, so it can't even really be told to wait because it doesn't have any intelligence to understand wait. So you pretty much it's a point and shoot thing. Attack that guy. That's how an animated object really works. So you're going to have a spell that grants it some kind of semblance of low-level intelligence or at least programmability that can be wait for X amount of time before attacking. after the victim is dead, hide in the nearest corner. Um, it just looks like a discarded blanket. It couldn't actually do shape changing. While you could have a possessed object, which could do some limited shape changing, or you have something like a trapper or a mimic idea, and it is definitely capable of assuming the shape of mundane objects. Um, and the idea here is not just to kill a victim, that's the goal, of course, but it's also to instill a sense of terror. That this is going to attack you at your most vulnerable, at the moment when you are supposed to feel the most comfortable and relaxed because you are drifting off to sleep. You are not going to know necessarily how someone you knew was killed in their own bed. And maybe if this is done to a target that doesn't have access to magical resources, and it was done by a smothering attack, people may not even know it was an intentional death. It was a murder. The person died in their sleep. Of course, if the person's got any kind of character levels, and if they're an NPC or a PC, and then turned up dead, people are probably going to expend a little effort to see if it actually was natural causes or not. But by that point, the object in question or creature in question could be long gone. And even if it gets into another room or out a window, if it's no longer directly in that space, it may be out of the investigation zone far enough that it will not be considered to be part of the investigation. And the further it gets away, the easier it can truly escape. So this is just something I whipped up while falling asleep one day this past week, feeling wonderfully comfortable and warm in my bed under my two comforters, one handmade by my wife, and thinking, that would make a really good magical attack.